Hi, I'm Ray, and this is TinyTableGames. Thank you for watching, and please click like and subscribe if you haven't already and help the channel grow. And hopefully you've enjoyed some of the recent videos like Battletech Alphastrike. Today we're doing something completely different. This game has been on the Board Game Geek website for board game enthusiasts. If you don't know, go check it out. It has an amazing amount of information. Tracks, at least among users of that website, who are all obviously board game enthusiasts, what they've been playing the most. For the last 12 months, this game has been on the list, and for April, it was currently #1 on the most played games. It recently won a fan vote called the Golden Geek on the website for best medium weight, however you want to define that, game of the year. This game is called Harmonies. It is by Johan Benvenuto, and the artwork, which is amazing, is by Meva da Silva, although I'm probably saying her name wrong, for which I apologize. That said, this game has not been out that long. It came out in 2024. I played it at Dice Tower East 2024 when it was in the Hot Games room, and it had just come out. And me and many other people pretty much fell in love with it. It's a very different kind of game. Which is something I may go into a little bit before we actually get into it. So, what's the deal with Harmonies, and why do so many people seem to like it? Well, in essence, the game is just about pulling tiles and building a landscape, and if you have your tiles in the correct order, you can place little cubes that are animals, which is where the artwork comes in, and create a little harmonious land where lots of different animals can live. Which, for some people, is all you need to sell them the game. For other people, they like the strategy involved in stacking up all the little tokens. The winner is, of course, the person who has the best score. Best score is based around what sort of tokens you can build up, trees, mountains, etc. And like mini games, it's like having certain combinations of colors and heights all together because you can stack them. But in a larger sense, a lot of times what happens is people end up just making their own little environment on their board, as each person has a board, where they start getting real decorative with it. Like, oh, I'd like mountains to the left, and I think there should be a nice little stream, and we'll put a little valley in here, and put some birds on it, and then we get some gophers or an alligator in the lake, you know, that kind of thing. And so people kind of get real into the sculpting and building aspect of it, you know, creating their own little world and plopping little animals on it. And if you happen to win, that's great. But if you don't, you still had a lot of fun just creating your own little environment and chatting with the other players. It's kind of a Bob Ross mentality of a board game in a sense where, you know, happy little accidents. There's no real mistakes. You just build up your little board as it comes, and there you go. You see how it goes out at the end, and if you win, great. And if you don't, well, you still had a lot of fun making your own little landscape and placing little animals on it. So, that said, let's get in, I'll show you how it plays, and then we'll get into a solo game. Okay, so what are we actually doing? Each person playing gets a player board. It's two-sided. This is excuse me. This is the basic starter board. And over here is a larger board that's got slightly different scoring rules should you choose to play it. At the top, you can see there's little paws, and that's because you can have up to 4 animal cards up here. We'll get to what those are here. We'll get into that. Over here is the selection board, where if you have multiple players, you play on this side, where you pile the tokens into the 5 different slots on your turn. You pick some tokens and you play them on your board. And if you feel like it, you have to play the tokens. You can pick an animal card if you want to. And if you can also place an animal. For a single player, you use this three-person side, or the 3 token side. Because it basically simulates having other players, so you don't automatically get to pick everything that comes up. The idea is, at the end of every round, the tokens that don't get picked get discarded, and the game ends when all the tokens are drawn out of the bag, or when someone only has 2 open spots left on their board, which can happen faster than you think, depending on how people play. Okay, so at the start of the game, you reach in here and put 3 tokens on each spot. Just randomly. That's half the fun after all. So there's forest, water, trees, buildings, which are the red ones there. And the last 3 here. Okay, we didn't draw every token type. There's also, let me just dig a couple out, rocks and fields. which it helpfully tells you on the scoring card, and also includes the quantity of each token type in the bag. Is that something that you should really focus on in the game? It depends on how you like to play. So, in the game, you can build trees. You get 0 points if you just have a tree trunk. You get 1 point if you have a canopy. If you have a tree that's got a trunk and a canopy, that's 3 points. And if you have 2 trunk pieces in a canopy, well, that's 7 points. And that's for each tree that's on your tableau at the end. Now, for mountains, which is what the gray ones are, you get 1 point for 1, 2 points, or excuse me, 3 points if it's too high, and 7 points if it's 3 high. But they have to be in a chain, meaning you can't have isolated mountains. There has to be at least 2 of them together for those points to score, or they're worth nothing. Similarly for fields, there has to be 2 or more of them together to get 5 points. You're kind of wasting your time. If you had 12 of them and they're all contiguous to each other, it'd still just be 5 points. So your best bet's to break these up into small sections. And then buildings, I know it's a game about placing animals, but there's still some buildings. Buildings can have any other color under them except water or fields. And they score 0 points if they don't have 3 different colors around them. That's kind of the most confusing one. Basically, if you have a red token, you have to make sure that you've got 3 different colors, including red. That counts. So this would work. And for that one, you'd need 2 to make it an actual building. So you'd get 5 points for that. If you only had these 2 colors instead of 3 colors, it'd be worth 0 points. So something to consider. And finally, rivers. The longer your river is, the more points you get for it. That's super straightforward. So that's about it as far as scoring goes. So on your turn, you grab 3 tokens out of the off the selection board, basically place them anywhere you want. And if you want to grab an animal, you can, which is where we get to the animals. So each animal has 2 tokens on it and a habitat requirement. So the habitat requirement's at the bottom, and this one says it has to be a 3-high mountain with a field next to it. And if you do that, then it'll start with these 2 little clear tokens, there we go, cubes on there. And once you get that situation, you can take the 5-point one and stick it on your board where that goes. If by some chance you have a second setup where this applies, then you can pull off the 11, the token off the 11 and place that on your board. And now this will score you 11 points instead of 5 points. If none of those are removed at the end of the game, then the animal doesn't get you any points. And you can have up to 4 animal cards at a time that you're working on. As you complete them, you pick them and they're over here. As you complete them, you pull them off to the side and score them. So you can always get more later. You're not limited to 4 total. So that's about all there is to it. We got our random setup there, so we got to start the turn by selecting 3. It's always nice to get some trees and maybe the start of a stream, so we'll do that. We'll take this one. And in a multiplayer game, on the side that's got 5, you just refill at the end of your turn, and the other spaces stay open. In a single player game, however, what's going to happen is the ones you don't pick are going to get discarded, then we'll refill it. Kind of to symbolize that lost opportunities, that other players are taking those other ones and you don't get the chance to. So you can place them however you want, so long as it's within the placement rules. For example, you can't put water on top of something else because, hello, it's water. But for the most part, there's no real requirements. So I'm going to start my stream up here, and I think I'll put this little tree right next to it. And that's the end of that. And will I take an animal card? Yes, I will. But notice this alligator needs 2 streams and a bigger tree than that. But if I run the stream down here and then and notice you can any direction. So if it were like that, 2 water then the tree, or 2 water in a tree, and so on and so forth, it still counts. And it can be the same tree. If I had water all around this in one tree, you could line up alligators around it if you had the chance. But for now, I'm going to stick with the alligator and put the little tokens on. And if I could place an animal, I would, but I cannot, so it's the end of my turn. So we refill the draw pile of available critters. That's interesting. low canopy forest and no water. I might go for those, what was those, prairie dogs? So we discard these tokens, they're out. And now we refill everything. All right, so it's field and trunk heavy in this round. I'm not sure how helpful that is. Let's see. Well, that's good for these guys. So I'll definitely take this one. Being mindful of my alligators, I will put the rocks over here and the first of the little fields right there. And I will take tree number 2. And I will put it right here. So when I get another water, I can start using that for the alligators. So I'll also take this prairie dogs, I guess. It seems like prairie dogs. Given how many of them there are. Ooh, boy, look how many of that. You don't get many for the first one, but it certainly goes up from there. Now, of course, the downside of that is that forces you to have only one high mountain, which, as you may recall, in the end game, is only worth 1 point if you have multiples of them together. So it's a trade-off for sure. Is it a good trade-off? I don't know, but I kind of like prairie dogs, as long as I'm not trying to ride a horse through their field, so, you know, we're going with it. So 4 cubes. There we go. And because I have one that I can score immediately, a gray in a field there, a rock in a mountain, so we score 2 points with the first prairie dog. And that is the end of the turn, just like that. Those all go away. And it's time for new ones. All right, so we got rivers and rocks, huh? Oh, we need a new critter. Man, lots of water critters coming up. Big mountain and water. Big mountain and bird. Oh, and field. Seems like they ought to be able to combo that because we can use the same stack of 3 for that. So that's interesting. So for example, if we put a 3-high stack of rocks right here, that'll be adjacent to another one, so they'll both score. And we can use the field right here, and if you imagine a 3-high stack of rocks right there, we can use it for this, and then we can use that same stack of rocks if we put a water over there. So with that in mind, is that what we're gonna do? I think that's what we're gonna do. We will start building that up. So I don't really want the building, but you know, what are you gonna do? I do want the other stuff. So let's see. It has to be adjacent to that to help it score. Otherwise it just won't. The building, I don't know. You're going over here for now, buddy. And this. Now, we gotta take any critters. Yes, we're gonna take this trout one. We've only got one more animal spot we can use. Scoot this over here so it's still visible. There we go. And refill this one. Put the cubes on the trout here. We don't have a tree tall enough. We don't have enough water. The trout won't go because we don't have any mountains tall enough, but we do have another prairie dog spot because we have a second rock with that same field. So we can do that, but we don't want to because we want to build it up for this. I do believe. Or do we? Quick points versus long points, right? Because it's only 3 points for that. And once it gets above a 1-level rock, the prairie dog doesn't count anymore. So I think we'll leave him low for now. And just go with that. And sadly, all those waters go away. And now it's the end of the turn, and reload. There's another rock, that's good. Another field, potentially, and certainly water is good. Let's see. I need another trunk to make this work for the alligator. Otherwise, it just isn't. So I think we're gonna go, because you can't do leaf-leaf. That's not a legal build. So it's gotta be this one. So we'll put the rock here. We will put the field here, because remember the fields next to each other score points. That's 5 points just for those two being next to each other. And we'll put this other stream right here, in the hopes that we'll get another ability to build a tree here in the not too distant future, so we can start making use of that alligator. Now, anybody else worth taking over here? Might as well go for this bird, because we'll have that 3 high stack, so we can parlay it. And hopefully we can clear one of these soon. So can't place the crocodile or the alligator. Can't place the prairie dogs, because there's no other place to put it. No, let's see, the rock's not high enough for the trout yet, but almost is, and same story here. So that's that. So what we really want is, for this next round, is a gray rock, because then we can score both of these at the same time if we place it here. Okay, well this or this will give me that extra trunk I need. Only this gives me the 3rd rock. So I guess I'm stuck with this one. So taking this one. So build up the tree here. So hopefully we just need a green one. Put the building on the building, which is legal. This building is doomed, by the way, because I've stuck it in a corner where it will never have additional colors, so that was probably stupid. But maybe I can use it for this thing over here at some point. And add a 3rd rock. All right. So that done. Let's see. The alligator still can't go. The prairie dogs still can't do anything, but the trout can now go here, and this, whatever it is, bird, can go here. So that's nice. Getting a little populated corner. These all get discarded. Tempting. There's no question we're going with this one. We got a treetop, we got some water, and another rock. So we're doing it. So finish this tree. That's awesome. And let's see. You can't put like here. Here's what happened. So put this water here and then I guess I'm gonna have to go with that plan and leave that there. In which case I'll put this here. Does that matter? Not really. So like that it is. All right. See, so as you can see, you can get all thinky about it sometimes. Talking about analysis paralysis, trying to make your little area organized and look nice, because you want your little trees on either side of the river and your little mountain range. It doesn't make sense to have your mountains all scattered. You have a little valley over here, but I need some more valleys. And one, apparently, forestry building over here, but we'll see how it goes. So, playing critters, and you can play these as you play each token. You don't have to wait till you're done with all of them. Let's see, green, and tree, or blue, and tree. So first, alligator enters the scenario. There's no new place for the prairie dogs. The 3 and 1, nope, nothing new there. And the 1 and 3, nothing new there. Well, I don't think there's any doubt that we're going with this one. Because we can finish off this right there, and we can put this tree trunk right here. That doesn't really help us with scoring at the moment. But as soon as we put a water here, we'll be able to put the trout in, and there's definitely going to be more water. And as soon as we get this tree built up, that'll allow us to do another alligator. And it would be good to clear something off, because then you can draw your limit of 4 of the only ones you're currently using. Once you clear it, you can draw another one. So we're going with the, one of the rocks and trees. So we got to build up our tree a little bit. Then we got 2 rocks. So we're going to put 1 rock here and 1 rock here. That is because they have to be adjacent to another one to count. So those will be worth 1 point each, because they're little rocks. But when it comes to placing things, that allows us to place 2 of our prairie dogs. So that's nice. And if we get a green one here, we'll be able to place that next alligator. Oh, that's the best possible option right there. So we are taking this one for sure. We can finish our tree, which immediately allows us to drop a crocodile on there. But I don't need to just yet. Now let's see, do we want to, well, let's see. How many points is that little stream? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what it would be, but I could make it longer going out here somewhere. 5 is worth 11 points. That's pretty good. If I make it longer over here, yeah, I don't know. And these, if they're isolated, are worth nothing. They got in goes the fish. So alligator number 2 comes into play. And if you notice, now alligator number 3 comes into play in this direction. So that clears the alligators. And that'll be worth a total of 15 points. So for placing this little guy, we know he needs friends. If we place it right here, we might be able to put another friend in right there, which will help the, it doesn't really help anything. I was looking at this one, this bobolink or whatever it is, but it's only worth 9 points if you do it twice for crows, and frankly, I'm just not that interested in crows. So maybe, we'll just place it right here and hope to use another rock or 2 right here for the prairie dogs. I think that'll work. Okay, so no more prairie dogs can get placed. Trout, no more trout can get placed. Let's see, do I want to draw another thing? This is probably the most likely, the llamas. 2 fields together and a 2 high rock. Because notice the points, the llama goes on the field, so that'll allow me to build up the rock further after that. So that's what we'll do. Because if the landscape changes after you put the animal on there, it still counts. Not ideal, but what I mostly need are rocks. So I guess we're gonna go with that. These things are looking pretty mountainous. So if I put these like this, and if I get some more water, is that this? I've got nothing else that even needs a tree right now. So I'll put this in this corner and we'll see what happens. Oh, and draw a new animal, forgot about that. Holy cow, not a chance. That's if you're going the bog option with little otters and frogs. So as you can see, based on how they have the point scoring for the different animals, kind of tells you what kind of environment you're going to end up with. And it's kind of nice, goes with the artwork and everything. So, can anything else score? Doesn't look like it. Does not look like it. I could have done it like this and put the last prairie dog on there, but then I could not add the second mountaintop. Is that a mistake? Maybe, I don't know. Actually that might be a mistake. Maybe we'll do this. Because I can still build it up there, and in the meantime, I can score the last prairie dog like that. Which is 14 points. Which is not bad at all. And I don't want to draw any of these critters, and when you don't do that, you're allowed to discard one and flip out a new one to simulate the fact that somebody else probably did, at least in the solo game. That's not helpful at all either. Okay. So no new animals, because I don't want to ruin my chance there. The big focus right now is finishing off this bobolink or whatever it is by building up this mountain, and then I need some more field spaces. Except my fields are crooked now, so I can't ever actually do that. So I placed that wrong. Rats. Because it's got to be 3 in a row. So the only place it can go now is rock, field, field, if I'm going to place those llamas. Well, let's see what happens. So rock tree it is. I will throw the tree on the tree. I'm losing the chance to do the llama, but by building up the height to 3, I get to place the extra bobolink little guy right now on top of that mountain. So that's 11 more points. Those are all discarded. Ah, my plateau. Yeah, that's a danger in this game. It doesn't look like, unless I get real lucky, because remember that it stops at the end of the round where you have 2 or less. So I would need field, rock on my trio of draws to get this right, and that'd be my last play. Otherwise, water and water would be the best option, because then I could score 2 more trouts. And rock, tree, water. Okay. So this is the last play of the game. So if I place the field there, I'll score 5 points for having a second field. There's no chance of finishing off for the llama. This is probably the best option then, because at least we can play 1 more trout. Yeah. Could do this for a frog and just grab the frog real quick and then throw something on there, but that's just, I don't see how that's worth it. So put this next to this so it scores for 5 points. Finish off our tree, because remember, every finished tree that you get, as it should be, is worth 7 points. And then we'll throw this stream right down here next to this big rock, so we can at least score a second trout. Sorry about that, trouts really didn't work out as well for you as I thought. Too many alligators in the river. All right, so let's get on to scoring. So let's start with trees. I've got 3 trees that are fully grown, as it were. So that's 21 points in trees. Mountains. Oh, I also have 1 baby tree. That's worth 3 points. So that makes it 24 points. So I've got a fairly spread out trees thing going there, but it's not too bad. You notice I got trouts and llamas and bobolinks and prairie dogs, which is almost Colorado-y except for the alligators. Not quite sure how that mixes in, so definitely it's a more temperate area, but we got a lot of mountains, so I guess these are real low mountains? I don't know, but it's interesting. In any case, on to the mountain scoring. Let's see, as long as it's connected to another mountain, it scores. So this one is 1 point for being 1 high. The 3 high ones are worth 7, so that's 14, 15 points right there. 16, 17, 18, and then another 7 points. So, surprisingly, 25 points in mountains. So just 1 point off from my trees. Interesting. Got a lot of low mountains, that's why. Fields, granted, to me, this does not look like the same color as that, but whatever. 2 together or more is 5 points. So we got 5, 10, so 10 points in fields. That's, you know, whatever. Buildings do not have 3 colors around it, so it is worth nothing. So 0 building points, which is just fine by me. And now the river. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the longest segment. And a 5 longest segment is worth 11 points. And you just imagine that burbling along through the forest right there, bouncing off these tall hills, and maybe a little pool kind of accumulating over here, a little lake, you know, which is why the trout are hanging out in there. Next to a little valley over here, and yeah, maybe something else would grow up there eventually. And you got a prairie dog heaven over here on the flats with all the fields around it and the lower level rocks and the little river. And apparently the one house subdivision that's out there, in personal opinion. All right. Now, moving on to cubes and what we scored. So, no points for the llama because we never managed to get any of them out there. Sorry, guys. We get 6 points for the trout. We get 11 points for what I'm going to call the bobolink. If it's not bobolink, feel free to correct me. 15 points for the gators. And finally, prairie dogs, 14 points for all the prairie dogs. You certainly won't find people valuing them that much in your average field in Colorado, I can tell you that. But for our purposes, I think they're neat. All right, so let's tally it up and see how I did. So, adding everything up, I got 70 points in terrain features and 46 points in critters placed, which is a grand total of 116 points, which in the solo mode chart puts me in the middle. So not bad for a first solo game, I don't think. So there you have it. That's how Harmonies plays. Like I said, it's kind of a, if you're not really too worried about scoring, and even if you are worried about scoring, like I was trying to maximize my score there, it still turns into, you know, if you have some imagination and like critters in general, or camping or going to national parks and that sort of thing, your imagination runs wild pretty quick, which is kind of fun in a game like this, and I do find it somewhat relaxing. So I hopefully you also found it relaxing, and if you didn't and you're screaming at your TV talking about how dumb my moves were, feel free to leave a comment about that too. Always happy to learn. In any case, I am Ray, this is TinyTableGames. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.